Hey, what's up everyone? I wanted to start off by wishing all of you guys who do celebrate a very Merry Christmas, and hopefully you guys get to enjoy the company of your friends and your family today. But with that being said, I wanted to discuss this tripod right here, which is going to be the YC Onion Pineta Peak. So this is an official retail model. I wasn't sent this directly by YC Onion for review, but that's kind of how things turned out. So I'm going to get into that in a little bit. I will say, insofar as I can tell, my situation was an exceptional one, where my package was basically lost, and I spent literally months trying to get things sorted out, and they finally agreed to give me a refund, and then eventually the package just came out of nowhere. So I wanted to start this review off with that little bit of information, since I feel like shipping times and difficulties in actually receiving the product are pretty important things, and can be a pretty big challenge and a big frustration and a huge deciding factor as to whether or not you choose to even buy the product or not. So just take that for what it is. If you are not turned off by that, you can continue watching. If you are, then hopefully you find something that will work for you a little bit better. And I'm sure that you will, because on this channel I'm going to be reviewing a couple of other tripods that are also really fantastic and that I've had no trouble getting a hold of. So with that being said though, even though the whole situation was a little bit frustrating, I'm going to be giving this a fair review apart from any inconveniences that I had experienced. So starting off with the options they have for this tripod. You can purchase the legs in either a carbon fiber variant or an aluminum variant. The aluminum one, though, is not really out yet, and honestly, even if it was, I wouldn't really recommend buying it. I think that you're better off just saving a little bit of extra money and getting the carbon fiber one, since you do get extra foot tips for being able to use this on whatever ground that you need to, and it also has a higher load capacity for the carbon fiber legs. Plus, it can get a little bit higher than the aluminum one, and yeah, it's just overall a way better one. The carbon fiber one can support up to 77 pounds or 35 kilograms, which is a huge amount of weight. So you can really be confident that you can run any rig that you want to off of the carbon fiber version. The aluminum can support a fair bit of weight too, but again, like I said, I would just go with the carbon fiber one. But if you already have a good fluid head with a 3/8 thread, you can also just buy the tripod and the ball head together. So for that, it's going to cost you $6.99. If you do need to have a fluid head and you want to get all of that together bundled with their fluid head, you can add that on for a total of $7.99. And if you want to get a central shaft to increase the maximum height and use underslung mode, and you don't need the fluid head, you can get the tripod legs, bull head, and that central shaft for $8.49. And if you need everything, you can get that for $9.78. So overall, not a bad price, especially for what you get, but you know, you could definitely spec this out and spend a fair bit of money if you need to get everything. So now for the specs of the tripod that you need to know. It has a nice leg locking system, which allows you to set the legs at 22 degrees, 52 degrees, and 82 degrees, with a maximum height of 61 inches for the carbon fiber or 53.1 inches for the aluminum, and a minimum height for both of 6.3 inches. So you can definitely get this pretty high and also pretty low. Like I said, the carbon fiber one is a little bit larger, so again, I would recommend the carbon fiber one. But if you do also want to get the central shaft for the carbon fiber, you can get this up an additional 11.8 inches, or for the aluminum version, you can get it up an additional 15.8 inches over the maximum height of each. But since I have the carbon fiber version here, for the rest of this video, I'm just going to be reviewing this version. So, starting off with the carrying bag, it's pretty nice. As you can see here, this is what it looks like. It holds your tripod pretty securely at the top of the fluid head and down at the base where the tripod legs are. And it also allows you to lock the legs with the tripod itself in the closed position so that we don't need to worry about the legs opening or moving around when you're carrying this by itself without the bag. So overall, a pretty cool thing. Nice to see that they thought really well about how you're going to be using this in the real world. Now, one thing to note straight off the bat is that this is quite a bit larger and a bit heavier than something else if you've come from a travel tripod like the Alonzi Zero Y that I talked about briefly in my last video. this tripod's definitely going to be a way bigger, way more sturdy, and way more heavy-duty type of tripod. This measures in at approximately 27 inches long when folded up and weighs about 7.7 pounds with no fluid head. If you have the fluid head, it weighs right around 8 or 9 pounds thereabouts. So inside the bag, you're going to get a nice little zippered pouch here, which contains an Allen key set. It also contains a couple of 1/4 inch to 3/8 inch screw adapters if you need them to adapt down a smaller fluid head. Again, just for the carbon fiber version, you're going to get the standard rubber feet, these adjustable flat-based rubber feet, and some spike feet included. So whatever terrain you want to use this on, it can accommodate it. Again, one of the major reasons why I would recommend just getting the carbon fiber one. But when you get to your location, make sure that all of the buttons on the tripod legs are not depressed. If they are, just pull them straight out. This will disengage the travel lock, and then all you need to do is just align the tripod legs how you want and press the outer lock in without pushing the button. This is going to secure the leg in place in one of the 3 positions that you have. So now all that we have to do is just flip up the leg locks here. So these are single point leg locks, which is the main draw, of course, to this tripod. So you just flip these up, you can let them drop down, and then there's a bubble level right here that you can monitor and just make sure that everything is nice and level before you lock things off. Now that it's locked off, you can see it's nice and level, everything's set up, and we're ready to go. And just so that you guys know, there's a couple of ways that you can handle this tripod. There's a little handle screwed right on to the base right here, so you can use that to either carry it or to assist you in raising or lowering the tripod. Additionally, you also have a little rubber grip here on the left-hand side. That'll keep your hands, if it's cold out like it is here, that'll keep your hands nice and secure and not getting too cold. But again, the nice thing about tripods like this is that this has a bowl head. So this is the coconut bowl. And if you are on uneven surface and you don't want to get the tripod base itself perfectly level, maybe it's close, but it's not exactly perfect, you can use the bowl head and get it exactly leveled. So to do that, all you need to do is just take this large lever here and flick it to the front. And then you can just rotate this however you choose. Make sure that the little bubble level on the bowl head itself is lined up. Then flick this back to the closed position. Now that it's locked, you know that you are perfectly level and you're not going to have any issues whatsoever. So if you do have the fluid head, you can load this using the quick release plate that is included with the tripod, and that will just fit in right here. This is a side loading tripod, so it's pretty nice. You don't need to worry about sliding the dovetail plates in or anything like that. And this does accept both Manfrotto 540 type plates as well as the DJI Ronin plates. So if you want to use a gimbal and you want to have that setup go from being tripod bound to gimbal bound, you can easily do that with this. You just need to simply push in so that the for RS2/RS3 button is up and the standard button is down. If you're using a 504 plate, just press in the for RS2/RS3 button and that'll pop up the standard button, and now you're ready to rock and roll. That'll just keep it so that if you move your plate a little bit too far forward or a little bit too far backward, your whole setup doesn't come crashing down. This is a safety lock feature, which is really nice to have. So unfortunately, even though it's really nice that it has this single lock design, this fluid head is a really basic one, which is a little bit unfortunate for such a nicely built heavy-duty tripod like this. And I think it's really the weakest part of the system, in my opinion. It doesn't have any independent fluid resistance control and axis locks. So they're all included together like a lot of lower end cheap tripods, which is really unfortunate. Unlike my Sirui SVH15, which I'm going to be discussing in a future video about the Sirui SVT75 Pro tripod. But back to the Pineta Peak. This tripod feels really high quality and sturdy, and I honestly have no questions that this tripod could support anything from a really heavy wildlife rig to a full-blown cinema rig with any trouble. But as I mentioned, I would personally say that if you're going to be running a rig like that, you definitely want to invest in a better fluid head that has a counterbalance as well as separate pan and tilt fluid controls, so that way you can really dial in the resistance for each of the axes, and so that you can appropriately balance your rig on top. So that way you don't need to consistently lock and unlock your axes whenever you stop a shoot. It's really frustrating if you're in a live situation, you have to keep remembering to do that. Otherwise, your rig may come tumbling down. Definitely not a good look, especially if you're being hired as a professional. So, while I wrap up here, I'm just going to show you guys some footage that I captured on this fluid head with my Sony 200 to 600 lens on top, so that way you guys get a sense of how well this can support a long lens like that. Overall, I think that this is a fantastic tripod with a really smooth height adjustment via a single lock. So if you are looking to get something that's sort of similar to that Sackler Flowtech type design, this is definitely a pretty good option for you if you're coming in on the budget end. But like I said, the fluid head could use some work, and I think it's okay for what it does, but it does have a few shortcomings. For $7.99 though, I think for the tripod bowl fluid head, it's a pretty good price for what you get. It's not awful. And as I said at the top of this video, I did have some trouble with my order. So to give you guys some perspective, they quote 15 business days for delivery. However, mine came over 30 business days later, and they also agreed to give me a refund, so yeah, they told me that the package had gotten lost, so that's kind of why they agreed to give me a refund. But if you guys do want to purchase this tripod, just keep that in mind that you may end up in a situation like mine. I don't necessarily think that it's likely, but I just had to throw that out there. But with that being said, if you guys did enjoy the video, please like and comment below. Did you guys order one of these? Do you guys already have one? Do you like it? Did something similar to my situation happen to you? Any of those types of comments I'd be really interested to read. Definitely, if you aren't already, make sure that you subscribe, since I'm going to be making more videos reviewing the Sirui SVT75 and comparing this tripod to that one, as well as some others that you may also be looking at, so you won't want to miss that.